interested in seeing what's coming, because there's going to be some great shows coming along. And I will just tout the Diane Harris show, which is the current show. I love scrap quilts. The quilt behind me is an antique quilt that I purchased. It's in somewhat ragged condition, as you can kind of see in some of the edges, but I've loved it. The person who owned it is selling off some of her vast stash of antique quilts, and I told her this was one, if she ever wanted to sell it, that I would like to have a chance at it first. And so that's what happened, and it's very scrappy, and I really like it. And so much of, I watched Diane's show yesterday, her scrappy, she's a stash buster, I think is what she calls herself. And I've had a lecture from Diane, and I've taken classes from Diane. And I just love the whole idea of scrap quilts. And so that's what I'm working on. I'm replicating that quilt and working on it. And I've got just one of the little blocks that I've done here. And I really struggled because the original one is made with Y seams, and it was all hand pieced. So Y seams are easy if you hand piece them. But then a friend reminded me, you could make those without Y seams. And sure enough, so the points are made from flying geese, and then the middle part is half square triangles. And so the appearance is the same as what you see up there, but it's significantly faster and simpler to make. So that's going to be a class that I'm going to be teaching coming along here once I get the top done and all that stuff. So, okay, so let's get to Homeward Bound, month 9. Finally, we're on the third and final set of instructions for the wide applique border. Okay, we're going to do the 8 birds and some more leaves. My blog that I also posted this morning, that went up this morning, lists the fabrics for those other leaves. I really struggled with the fabrics for this whole entire border. So when I wrote the blog up, I sat down and I figured out exactly which of the kit fabrics were supposed to be for which of the leaves and how many of each you'll need. And those are in the blog if you want to follow the kit exactly. It really doesn't matter. And I didn't. I discovered when I was doing that for the blog, of course, my borders had been made already a month before when I sat down to write the blogs out. And I went, oh my gosh, I didn't get the right fabrics there every time. So I have told you what are the correct fabrics, but you can put from the kit any fabrics that you want, obviously, where you want them. But but if you want to know exactly which fabric was supposed to be where in the quilt, from the kit, check out my blog. Okay, so let's go to the document camera. Okay, so there are several pages for you to print this month for the birds. We'll talk about the birds first. And there's a placement diagram which shows how the pieces go together. There is an eye and a heart that are done by reverse applique. And as Sarah says in her video, and of course, watch the video, make sure you watch her videos, there's really no difference to the stitch of reverse applique versus applique on top. It's just which fabric is on top and which is underneath. So in this case, the heart would be under the bird body itself. And same thing with the eye. So that's the placement diagram. And then you've got the templates for the shapes that are in here. So I traced this one the front wing because it wasn't printed on here. It was printed on a separate page. So I traced it here to be, this is a left-facing bird, okay? And then I turned it over and I retraced them again with my light box behind them. Now I have the left-facing bird. But there is an easier way to do this that doesn't involve tracing. And that is to print this page, this bird placement page, on vellum or tracing paper. And so what you see here with the words where you can read it, it is the left-facing bird, just like this. And when you turn it over, you can clearly see exactly the same left-facing bird, but the words are upside down, so you know it's the opposite. So this was just simply a piece of tracing paper or vellum that went through my printer. I did this yesterday, so I'd have it to show you because, as I said, I went to all the trouble to do all of this, and then trying to get my birds laid out was a bit of a struggle. So I should have done this months ago when I first was working on my birds. My birds have been done here for a while. So that's just a tip that can make it really easy for you. And tracing paper is easy to find, vellum or tracing paper. Most, the big box stores that sell crafting supplies or paper goods and things, they sell pads of tracing paper. They're usually 9 by 12. So in order to cut it, you just cut it to 8.5 by 11 to put it through your printer, if that's the size printer that you're using, the paper that you're using. So anyway, so that's just a tip. And like I said, if I wish I had done it myself months ago when I didn't. But this shows you where the wings go, and then her video, Sarah's video, shows exactly what these dash lines, that means what's inside and what's on top and all of that kind of thing. So that's the story on making the birds. When I finish with the document camera, then we're going to go into my blog, and I'll show you my detailed pictures of the blog. I didn't want to have to make them over again just to be able to show you. So let me show you here the next step. Let's see if I can get this under the camera. So yeah, okay. So here I have my birds. When I was working on my birds, I determined that I was not going to do the eye by reverse applique or the heart. I said my birds were sightless and heartless. And so ultimately I knew that I wanted an eye on each of these birds, so you have various options. You could certainly do the eye through the reverse applique method. I just knew that that was more than I wanted to take on to get them really perfectly round. And they're so tiny. I just said, you know what? Black buttons will do the trick just fine. Well, when I was out in Corinth, Mississippi, several weeks ago now, teaching, they had it was their fundraiser time, and they had a whole bunch of gifting kits and things that people could, silent auction stuff they could buy. So in one of those kits was this package of snaps, and they're somewhat old in years. You can see they were 89 cents is what this package cost, and the copyright date on this is 1986. So these little snaps have sat in somebody's sewing closet or sewing room basket for a long, long time. And I really had my eye on the snaps. I didn't want anything else that was in the bag, in the rest of the package. But so the person who also wanted to get the package wanted everything else, but she didn't care about the snaps. I said, oh, well, I'd like to have those snaps. So she did win the back package, and she gave me the snaps. So you can see where there were 4 of the smallest size snaps here in black. And so my bird eyes are 4 of the uppy side of the snaps, and the other eyes are 4 of the other side, and they also are raised as well. And I just sewed those on with black thread and got them about where the eyes go, and I was perfectly content with that. Little black buttons would do the trick. You could use a permanent marker. You just want to make absolutely certain that it was really permanent. You could draw it on, or textile paints and draw those eyes on there if you wanted to. You could embroider the eyes on little black circles. So that idea. I suppose the birds could have silver wings if you only had silver snaps, but these eyes, but these were black. So I was very happy with that. Now, something I had learned some time ago, and don't know where or when, but someone had said for sewing on snaps, especially these small, are really hard because they're fiddly to hold on to. But there's a hole down in the middle. And let me see if I've got a pin handy here that I can show you. Oh yeah, I dropped the pin. Okay, all right, here's a big pin. All right. And it may not fit because it's a big pin. But there is a hole right in the middle of that. And you can put a pin down in the middle of that snap and just pull it straight down, and it will hold the snap in order for you to stitch around those little spaces that I didn't sew the first one on with the pin, and it was a real struggle to keep it centered. And then I said, wait a minute, I remember there's a hole in these snaps for a reason. So anyway, so at least my birds are no longer sightless. However, they are heartless. But I have sold this top to someone who is perfectly capable of doing beautiful applique. And I'm going to encourage her to put hearts on her 8 birds all by herself and add that little touch that'll make it a joint effort between she and her birds will have hearts, only she'll do them. Now, it's too late to make them reverse applique because obviously this top is done and you'd have to cut through multiple layers if you were going to do that, and that would make no sense at all. But anyway, she could cut small hearts and put them right on top, either by machine or by hand applique, and she will probably want to do by machine. I did choose to do my birds by machine applique. All the rest of these, my stems are machine applique because it's simply speedy. But all of the leaves and the flowers on this border, everything else that I did on this border, I did with needle turn hand applique. But when it came to the birds, I just have got to get these done. And so I did machine applique. I used a pinkish thread, and I used 80 weight Quilter Select, very fine thread. And so I used a pink color for these two fabrics, and then I switched to a more purpley kind of this bluebirdy kind of color that worked with that. But I'll go back into my blog in a few minutes and show you some of those photographs. Now, what I wanted to talk about is, and the blog shows it as well, this is a top border, and this is a side border. I know that because the underneath stem here is the underneath one. So they were placed on the top and bottom border, this first stem. You did those when you made the top and the bottom border. The left and right borders, you had this dangling extra part of the stem or vine. You had to leave it open so that once you joined the left border to the left side of the quilt, then you would be able to continue and put the rest of the stem on here, or vine. And also I noticed, because I can see the seam is right here, the left and right border birds don't get put on until you have joined the left and right borders to the quilt. On the top and bottom borders, you do the birds while it's still just border fabric, because it's a complete long border, and you can get those birds in place. So you'll have 4 of the 8 birds put on the border, 2 on the top border and 2 on the bottom. Remember, a left and a right facing. And you'll have those done. And then you will add the right border and the left border to the whole middle of the quilt. Go back then and finish the stem, and then put the bird on top of the stem. And there's no real good guidance. The pictures, the pattern doesn't show you the exact placement of the bird. People had asked, and I've answered those questions on the forum, and it may be on the blog too, how far up. I just told you how far up I made the body of my bird. Let's see while we're talking here. All right, so about 2 inches in this case is the bottom of this widest part of this bird, and my finished seam here. I place the bird body about 2 inches, depending on how you hold it, to maybe 2 1/8, 2 1/16. It's not that important. What's more important is that you would really like these vines to kind of crisscross at about the midpoint. And I'll show you this on the blog because I have some good pictures. But when I was placing this, I used my star, because this star is already part of the top border. You put it on there way back months ago. Okay. And so when I put that there, and I have a 45-degree angle, I would like to, coming up here, and it's probably wiggly because it's all folded up here. Yeah, okay. And it's not exactly at the crisscross place. I've probably picked the one that is the least good. Visually, it looks like it's crisscrossed. The others are very close to exactly onto that. And you don't want the crisscross way over here on this one and way over here on this one. You want these to kind of align so that they're coming out of this. Visually, you see the middle of the border. Let's see if I can show you one other one without going to too much. Oh, it's all folded around here. So no, we won't worry about that because I'm going to take you to the blog and show you the picture. So, all right, what did I want to see on the vines crisscross? Okie dokie. All right, while this is up, so I don't have to switch back and forth with the document camera. Next month, we're going to do this remaining piece, this border, and it's the half square border, and it's very, very similar to border 5 in month 5. It's not exactly the same, but it's similar. Has the small half square triangles and the larger half square triangles. And it has some of these short little stems with a berry on the end. Now, I discovered when I was making mine that there was an error in the measurements for the 4 sections of this border that are the middle. And there are 4 of these that have a heart in them. The measurement said to cut all of these a certain size, well, short, the 3.5. Well, that didn't work because the heart is fairly short, and this stem would have just ended right there. The pattern itself does not have these berries there. The intention by the designer, Sarah, was that these be longer stems, and we are changing the pattern so your instructions will be correct, and it will show you how long to cut these stems so they go under the heart, and you don't have a circle here. But I had already cut these. I had 8 of these suckers cut too short, and I didn't want to have to make more bias stems and in order to cut them the length that I needed them, and then have these little short ones I didn't have any use for because I'd cut 16 of them when I only should have cut 8. So I said, you know what? I am just going to go with that. And I had stitched them in place too, so I was going to have to spend hours taking them off. And no, I'm leaving them. So I left my short stems and I added a circle. And then, so when you compare the outer little sections out here, that one has the same circle and those same little shapes. I happen to think mine looks just fine. It's well balanced, and it saved me hours of work undoing something that would have made me unhappy to have to undo. So don't follow my pictures unless you want it to look like mine. The pattern instructions for month 10 and October 1st will have the corrected measurements of how long to cut these stems so they actually end up underneath this heart and don't have additional circles to make. Okay, but it's your quilt, you get to decide. I often say that. Your quilt, you get to decide. All right, so let me go to sharing my screen. All right, so let's go in there. And I'll go to my border. There we go. Okay. All right. So here is the blog that came up early this morning. And it's a picture of mine. Here's all that measurements that I said, all of the fabrics, which ones are, how many you need of which. I really struggled counting them. Every time I counted them, I had different numbers. And I finally said, I've got to figure out which of these fabrics are which and how many of each one I'm supposed to use. And so I've done that for you. It's already there. And these are the actual ones for following the pattern. And the same thing with the bird body, which fabrics and all that kind of stuff. All right. Now, I used Print and Piece Fuse Light. So I'm just going to click on and work my way through all the photographs. But you can see that all this stuff is in the blog, up close and personal. And you can make the pictures bigger if you need to see them bigger. So this one just shows it printed on Print and Piece Fuse Light. And then I cut out the shapes. And because I'm doing turned edge machine applique, I need to cut them out with a seam allowance. So you see I've placed I have fused it, the Print and Piece Fuse Light pattern onto the wrong side of the bird itself, and then I've cut it away, leaving a scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. Some of these little curvy parts here you have to clip and get these all ready. And of course you're making 8 birds, but remember 4 have to go to the left and 4 have to go to the right. And then I used my fabulous glue stick. I love the Quilter Select glue stick, works great. And I just went, you can see here where I've turned these edges under, and there's a lot of clippings on the curvy parts. And I've gone ahead and done that and got those done. And so then there's this picture here of how they should align. And then this one shows, there were some measurements that I gave people is where did I put the bird head? Because the pattern does not show the placement of the bird. I really wish it did, that you could see exactly where Sarah intended for the bird to go, but it doesn't. All I kind of had was just the photographs of the finished quilt. So several people had asked me exactly where is the bird, and so I gave you my measurements here of where I did those. And then this is that last picture that shows the alignment. What I was striving for here is that I would have this 45-degree line coming. And you see it's not 100% on, but you only see it's not 100% because we're looking at it this close. I will be absolutely certain that from 6 feet away, it will look perfectly close all by itself. So those are the photos, and then here's the words. You've probably figured out by now I say I'm a woman of many words, and so I have all the information and everything. And then I talked about my sightless birds now have eyes made from black snaps. Okay. And all right, and it shows how to do that, and so we've got all of that. Okay. We've got all that stuff. Okie dokie. And of course, while we're in here, just the blog, I'll remind you again that you can go to the blog and to the forum. Go to the forum. We go to Homeward Bound. And then we've got, I did set up yesterday the 2 new categories for month 9, ask questions here and show your progress here. Let's look at show your progress for month 8, just to show you that again. When you just want to see what other people are doing, you can click on that and then click on photos, and every post that has been made that has the photos, there they are. And so there's been a lot of photos, and you can see them all in there, and there's 2 pages, so you can jump to the next page as well. So I encourage you to put your photos up. We all find it very helpful, and you can see the different colorations that people are using and things like that, which is really good. I don't know why sometimes the photos come up turned halfway and vertically instead of horizontally or vice versa. I don't know why. And a lot of times they look like that as a thumbnail, and when you click on it on the post, it's right side up. So I don't understand that. It's beyond me. Doesn't matter. So that's just just the way it goes. So, all right, let me go back here to the laptop webcam. I think that's what we're ready for. Okay, so let me see what else I was wanting to tell you here. I showed you about the cutting error, but we are correcting that. But my blog for next month will tell you the size, the small ones, and show how I solved that problem. A couple of people who've seen it said, you know, I like it much better having those little berries. It means you have to make 8 more berries. 1, 2, 3, yep, 8 more berries. But oh well, there's plenty of fabric to make berries. Okay, the important kit fabric information. So because mine is done and the whole thing gets done, right? So I get to this last border up here, the cabins. We got more. Come on, where are you here? All right, so you see we got cabins, and they have roofs. They have that dark purple fabric roof, which is Divax, D-I-V-A-X. It's a solid Tula pink solid in this dark purple color. Well, when I got to that stage, I went, oh my goodness, what's the problem here? And I went back and checked, and sure enough, the amounts that had been calculated by the designer of how much fabric for each fabric, how much was needed, that amount of fabric needed for those border roofs was missing from, you don't have enough. You don't have enough of that dark purple by a long shot. Now, I happen to have a substantial stash of purple fabric. So that was not a problem for me. I simply picked another one that I liked, this is an oldie, and it's one I really, really like. You can't really see it here. I could put it under the camera, but it doesn't matter. It's got a gold stripe on it. It's a real pretty purple color, but it has this lovely gold stripe on it. So I had no problem making my roofs. There are 12 roofs using the pattern instructions, which you will get in month, I think it's 11, might be 12. To make the roofs, okay? But you don't have the purple fabric, but you're going to get the purple fabric. So every person who bought the kit, all 450 of us who have the kit, okay, are going to receive in the mail an additional piece of that purple fabric, 6 inches by 18 inches, which is sufficient for you to make those 12 roofs, okay? The shipment will go out October 1st. You do not have to do anything if your address has not changed. If the address your original kit was shipped to is still where you are today and you want that fabric sent to that address, that's what's going to happen with no action on your part. You don't have to do anything. But we've discovered that there are plenty of people who live part of the year in one location and part of the year in another location. And so they may have received their kit last December to one location, but they're not there right now. So they would have a different address. So you are all going to receive an email. Anyone who has purchased a kit is going to get an email explaining all of this. It will also be in the newsletter. And but if you do have a different address, you will simply contact customer service by the 28th of September. You're going to have 4 weeks from now to do this, to make sure that you send your correct address to our customer service people so they can make sure that that one piece of fabric that's coming to you so you can make the purple roofs to finish this quilt will come to the address you want it to go to. So again, if your address is the same, do nothing, just wait with bated breath to get this wonderful additional free piece of fabric that's coming to you. If you have a different address, you will have to take action by contacting the customer service, but you're going to get an email. We're all going to get email that tells us exactly what the process is and what you should do if you do, in fact, want to have it shipped to a different address. Okay? That email is going to go out sometime later, very soon, if not today, in the next few days. They wanted me to I'm either the bearer of bad news or the bearer of good news. I'm not sure how you want to look at it. I think it's bad news to me that there's a mistake like that. But it's amazing to me that the company says, we're going to make this right, and we're going to send everybody this additional piece of fabric. And if you know what shipping costs, you know that that doesn't come cheap. So anyway, we're happy to let you know that that's coming, and do be watching for the email especially if you want to notify customer service that you want a different address used. Okay, so after that September 28th, the deadline, then they'll wait that time, and as soon as that date has passed, like 4 weeks from now, then they'll put all these pieces of fabric in the mail so everybody will get them. Okay, that's the important thing there. All right, now next month the live is, then I'm going to go look at questions. Next month the live will be Friday, October 6th, and we'll talk again about that piece border. After these 3 months of working on this big wide border, you're going to love the simplicity of that next piece border. It's very similar, as I said, to month 5, which you've already done. So anyway, so that will get you there. And remember, tomorrow, a special edition with Alex. So let me go look at if there are questions here. Okie dokie. Yeah, and then John is our behind the scenes producer here, so he has put in a few things too. San Diego, Galena, Ohio. Oh, good. Someone's in Queensland. Wonderful. She stayed up late to be able to watch us. It is 3 a.m. in Queensland. So, Pauline, you need to get some sleep. But I'm happy to have you here. And thank you for the compliment. I'm feeling pretty fantastic myself. Italy. We've got Italy in the house. Brewster, New York. California, Maryland. North Carolina, Linda. Thank you, Linda. I have certainly gotten new clothes, and this is one. So, yeah. Oh, there's Susan Skeel. All right. Good. The reason I put that, there's several people mentioning the blog. The reason I put that personal information is I'm not alone in this journey of maintaining weight, and I'm 69 years old. And if I can do it, you can do it. And so and you don't do it overnight. And if you want to be better a year from now, it depends entirely on what you do today. So I'm preaching to the choir there a lot. All right. Michigan, Indiana. Okay, yep. And Pauline from Queensland again, she wants to stay up this late tonight and watch Alex live. So we're excited to see Alex back again, and she's very excited to tell you all how great it is. Yes, the bird fabric is the same fabric as that 4-petal flower. It's called blueberry or bluebell, bluebell, I think. And I really like that fabric. That was a really pretty fabric. So I was glad that the birds were made out of that. Okay, good. She likes that. And then John has posted in there the customer service with your shipping address. If it's a different address, only notify them if it's a different address. You'll simply clog up the works. If you say, there's no reason to write and say, my address is fine. If we don't hear from you, we know your address is fine. Somebody asked, Kathy Morrison, if I have a half yard of the purple fabric, will I have enough? The piece that we're sending out for the roofs is 6 inches by 18 inches. I know that's enough to do those 12 roofs. So if you've gotten to this stage and you don't need any more of that purple Divax, the solid, I'm certain that a half a yard ought to do it. Okay, California. Michael Wheeler says he lost 70 pounds. It took me a year. That's right. It doesn't happen overnight. I'm here to tell you. So, okay, very good. I think that's all the questions there. So let me go back to here. All right. Well, fabulous. We're bringing this in on just over a half an hour. I do go back and look on the Facebook posts, both on Alex's page and on the Quilt Show page. And if I have missed questions, I answer them again. I can't answer the questions on YouTube. I see them, but for whatever reason, there isn't a way to comment to respond to them there. But the forum is the best place for you to be contacting me if you have direct questions, or there's a lot of knowledge on the forum. There's lots of people working on this quilt. So use the forum for Ask Your Questions here. You'll get good advice from plenty of people, not just me. Some people have some ideas that I might not have thought about. So I do encourage you to ask those questions there on the forum. I check it several times a day, as I said, especially this first week, because it's when the big questions start to come up. So, okay, I think we are in real good shape for this month. I knew that me making this border and having it take all 3 months, by the time I got to this stage, I just wanted it done. And so once those birds, which takes time to, in case, if you're doing them raw edge, that would be a lot faster. The birds where you're just cutting them out raw edge. But because I chose to do them turned edge, it just took a lot of time to get all 8 of those birds made. But once they were made, I slapped them on the border, and then I could machine quilt around them, or machine applique around them pretty quickly. So, okay, so I think I have blathered on enough. We are in good shape for today. I will see you back here October 6th, Friday, October 6th for month 10. And remember, Alex tomorrow, same time, same channel. Until next month, that's a wrap.